Who are you?
I'm third chair now, Dave.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm third chair now.
No, you're not.
.com.
Wonderful. And that's Tuesday. And look who decided to show.
Ahoy!
At Dave Landau. He's here. I figured I'd introduce him really
Hey.
quickly. You
Somebody's well.
You feeling better?
I am, yes.
With a little bit of that daylight savings flu?
Yes, that's what it was. We'll call it that.
That messed everybody up yesterday. I was like, I'm so tired. There's that moment of panic that you always have when you realize that the clock on your phone doesn't match the clock on the microwave. You're like, I've been going by microwave clock.
My microwave clock doesn't match my oven clock. That's how bad I am, where I'm like, why are you 2 minutes apart?
Also, my microwave clock, I can't really read it because I open it a lot and stand in front of it for extended periods of time.
So do I, till my head hurts.
Did I tell you, my parents, the most terrifying thing ever, and we're going to get right into what we need to discuss today, but their microwave was broken. They just had to have it fixed this week. Do you know how it broke? It would only run when the door was open.
So it was just the cancer microwave?
Yes, it was the cancer microwave. Yeah.
With just stuff splatting out of it?
It was a cancer aid. Cancer pool.
Cancer wave.
Enjoy it.
LG cancer. So
How did they find out it worked? Just try with the door open.
they were like things.
yeah,
they were
yeah.
like things aren't. Well, I don't know. My mom's French Canadian. She said things are not. They're not getting warm.
It's warm now.
Oh, good. We don't need a new one.
Yeah. Every time you go to make some Orville Redenbacher, you're like Marv in Home Alone 2.
It's worth it. That
Just
popcorn's
kernels
good.
shooting like bullets through your house.
Backfire. All right, we have a lot to get to today, but let me tell you before anything else, because we are directly going against the White House's orders on Russia, Ukraine. So if ever you miss this show and you say, hey, where's the show? We haven't let you know that we're missing a day, we're missing a week. It's streaming live on Rumble. Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Of course, Mug Club, loudwithcrowder.com/Mug Club, where we do an additional 45 minutes to an hour every day. But if it's not on YouTube, it doesn't mean that we're gone. Nothing would make me happier than all of you right now to go over to Mug Club and Rumble. But
Well,
that's not in the cards. We'll be talking today about a couple of things. Rachel Levine could be Woman of the Year.
wow, fantastic.
So that's important. But we'll also be talking about the left here. Jen Psaki just gave some marching orders to TikTokers to go out and make sure that they are, when I say accurate, I mean make sure that they propagate the talking points that the White House wants specifically on Russia, Ukraine. And then condemn Russia for, censoring media, for trying to set a narrative, for silencing dissidents, when that process is happening here in the United States to an alarming degree. And it's amazing. It's kind of like the, Breitbart talked about, the old Alinsky tactic, 101, accuse the other side of doing exactly what it is that you are doing. And that's a scary thing right now. It's very hard to find accurate information on Russia and Ukraine. Just to be clear, no one here is a Putin apologist. Think he's a dick. Okay? So my question to you before we move on, and I was going to ask if you think that the TikTokers have informed you on gas prices, but more importantly, the goal of this show, I want to make sure we're always sort of true north. It's obviously supposed to be entertaining, but the goal is to equip you, hopefully, with information so that you're able to go forward and have these conversations, whether it's inflation, whether it's gas prices, whether it's abortion, whatever the topic is. Going to try and do that today. And let me know if you feel that it's helped you with that. Comment below if this program has specifically helped you to have conversations with people in your life, because if not, then that means that we're not doing our job. That's why we also make all references available at loudwithcutter.com or in the pinned comment if you're on YouTube. Okay, before we move on, Gerald A., how are you?
I am well. How are you, sir?
Better now that I know it's daylight savings time.
Right. So you know what time it is, and your body has adjusted in one day.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't.
Do you know what time it is? It's time to be tired.
Why is it so sunny?
Yeah.
So
Still the sun. I can't believe it's still today.
What?
And Dave, of course,
Ahoy, boys.
I introduced him. But let's move on from this. First thing is this Russian Orthodox priest was happy about being cut off from the Western world. And I want you to watch this and understand a couple of things. First off, there's blatant hypocrisy, which we'll get to. But he's not entirely wrong, and he's actually echoing, in a peaceful way, what you hear a lot from ISIS, or what they would use in recruiting tapes as far as how they condemn the West. So let's go to priest Ron Swanson to hear what he has to say.
Жили в сатанинской химере, друзья. Вы этого не слышали, не знали? Вы не заметили, как воздух очистился? Пугачева навсегда покинула Россию. Господи, как я этого
More of
ждал.
a Bobby Moynihan character.
Порнхаб закрыли для русских пользователей. Нас отлучили от благози западной цивилизации. Порнхаб закрыли. Иисус, как нужно было молиться, чтобы его закрыли раньше. Нас не пустили на Евровидение. Боже, как я просил, чтобы нас не пускали никогда на него. Чтобы я этих женщин с усами и мужиков с грудью не видел никогда даже во сне.
For those listening on audio, I never want to see women with mustache and men with breasts.
Вот
His
он,
words, not ours.
He has a point.
вонючий, проклятый в корнях своих, в кишках проклятый. Мир
He knows as
наживы,
a man with a
мир
mustache and
брехни
breasts.
и мир кровопролития.
I come by these men titties, these moobs honestly, and mustache take years of work and self-neglect.
Yes, these were grown of self-hatred.
Yes.
For many, many moons.
These were grown, not bought. You can't buy this self-respect in a store.
Chia tits.
Wait until he sees BuzzFeed Bowlesley painting in period blood. He wouldn't even have a chip for that.
no, he would not understand it.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. I will tell you,
quite a sermon.
transgender ideology and rampant pornography, these are absolutely shameful exports of the West. And you may, look, you may not agree with them, but you have to understand that's how a lot of the world sees it. Again, ISIS, these Taliban,
Yeah.
they would say, look at the West. Look, you know how they recruited people for ISIS? They would just sit them down for, 35 minutes in front of Meet the Kardashians. Need I say more?
Yeah,
did the
well,
promo.
that or the whole, we're going to behead you, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm on your team.
Right,
You know what
yeah.
I'm going to say?
Yeah.
I guess we deserve it at some point.
No, it's true. There is a lot of, I don't even understand who makes money in porn anymore.
I guess I don't really know. I mean,
I guess it's like got to be the top tier because from what I understand, they're just, why buy the cow? You know what I mean?
right, yeah, that's what I
Milk
understand.
is free.
Well, one thing, a side effect of this is Russian men are very, very angry and aggressive now that
Yes.
Pornhub is cut off.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's what started it. All of a sudden, they have
everything was
tempers.
fine right up until it's like, we're cutting you off.
We have no outlet. Have you seen our women? They don't shave their pits.
All we have is long tables.
You have number one export is showing. Our number one export is sending you our women to be wives. Your number one export is sending us pictures to let us know we have no more wives.
We send your prettiest women, yet I am married to a mole with 3 hairs on it.
Yes, this is very, very strange.
Gross place.
Where is my Bridget Nielsen?
Gorgeous woman for 5 minutes.
Yes, and kind of like the other one on Top Gun. You know, lady from Top Gun?
Yes.
You see her now?
Ugh, not lady.
Ooh, no, I hide her under long table.
I throw up in mouth thinking
Yes, a
about
little bit. That's also because I wake up and go to sleep and I have vodka morphine drip. So it's hard to no throw up, but I think it's partially from your ugly women. But here's the thing. They're not wrong. they're not wrong. These are shameful exports from the West. Look, and you can also believe that people have the freedom to engage in things that are harmful, while also agreeing that they aren't necessarily moral. However, Russia doesn't really have a leg to stand on because they're the 7th worst nation in the world regarding human trafficking. And you know who's number one? You know who's number one is their feeder league, Belarus.
Really?
Number
Is it
one in
really
human
number
trafficking.
one?
Yeah, and a
Not
huge portion of
China?
that. No. And a huge portion of that is sex trafficking, but overall human trafficking, it's sort of hard to parse out the information. But still, look, I get it. I get that you don't. This is what they do. They try and tell their people that we're upstanding moral countries, and that's propaganda, and the United States is not. When the fact is, look, these are not deeply rooted Christian principles in Russia. It was a distinctly, basically, a state denomination of atheism for a long time, up until really, you're talking about the 1980s, 1990s. So Marxism, Lenin, right, too, if you go through Marx, then Lenin, Stalin, was a distinctly atheist ideology. Religion was seen as harmful. And now they're trying to play catch-up, and maybe people feel this way, but your country hasn't caught up with it because, you know what, centuries and decades of practice, of dogmatic atheism has its consequences. So don't disagree with the priest on everything, but he also should maybe get on a Peloton.
Well, I think one of the things is you just remember they tend to kill the people that are immoral in those kinds of regimes. And so,
Right.
Eventually you just, you're moral.
Yeah, exactly. You
If he
just
gets on a Peloton with that robe, it's going to be a mess.
my screen name is Mentits44.
He's on Pornhub.
Yeah.
Under the same name.
That's it. It's just a vendetta. He's like, I am telling you, I tried Pornhub. That not work. It's like no one wants to watch you masturbate. I don't know if that's it. That's it.
I'm doing research all the time.
All the time.
That's what I do. you
I
know?
am doing research as to why this. Oh, that's disgusting.
Gross. I better watch it to the end.
Yes,
Or at
that's-
least till I end.
These 19 tabs are disgusting. I will open no window of disgusting to confirm. Filthy West devil.
It's the most virus-filled computer on the planet.
His computer has AIDS.
Yeah.
This computer is just pop-ups.
Of more porn.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of immoral, it's time for us to go out to our favorite state of New York with some updates. This is time for this week's Empire State of Crime. Okay, so remember when the whole Stop Asian Hate was a thing? Remember that? It kind of went down the memory hole along with, COVID.
It's weird.
It's weird.
They hand in hand.
I think it was daylight savings. There's like, I
think
don't
it was.
remember.
Set the punch forward.
Yeah. So this was something that everyone was complaining about, right? Stop Asian Hate. And we talked about, again, of course, you shouldn't commit crime against Asian Americans because of their race, just like you shouldn't commit crime against any American, well, period, and certainly not because of their race. However, the media was deliberately dishonest and misleading as to, statistically, the reality regarding the anti-Asian hate crimes, the racially motivated crimes, the increase in violence, which is, of course, seen across the board in New York, but specifically targeting Asian Americans. So I warn you, for people who are seeing this, it doesn't get too graphic, but this is an important story to cover. New York, well, this is Yonkers. There was a man who punched a 67-year-old Asian American woman 125 times. Now, look, I will never defend hitting a woman.
Right.
That being said, if you're going to lean toward that side, if I have to, I limit it at 120. I'll even allow 121. It's what I call the grace strike. But 125.
I mean, really. There's gotta be a line.
125 times to hit anybody, it's like a stabbing. Like you should be in love with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
you have to be like losing your mind to punch somebody.
Also, what is he?
125
What are these criminals in New York? Are they all on EPO? How do you
Yeah, that's-
how do you throw 125
Yeah.
strikes?
I mean,
winded.
who has the time?
Yeah. For crying
Especially
out
with daylight savings.
For crying out loud, TJ Dillashaw doesn't throw 125 strikes. At least he has a minute between rounds. So this Asian woman was struck 125 times. And take a guess. Take a guess who the perpetrator was.
We're going to begin with an attack so brutal we had to freeze the video because it's too graphic to show. A 67-year-old Asian woman followed into her building in Yonkers and then beaten relentlessly. Police say a man punched and kicked her more than 130 times, and that man is now under arrest and charged with a hate crime.
We're going to go ahead and show you that video that police tell us they released to demonstrate the depravity of this crime and to let the public know that hate of any kind will not be tolerated. But you can see there the 67-year-old Asian woman is pushing a grocery cart as she enters her building in Yonkers. She stops to open the second door of the building vestibule when a man comes in behind her and for absolutely no reason
it's a damn white
punches her,
supremacist.
Yep.
launching her to the ground.
For a second, I
Now,
thought it was Kyle
we
Rittenhouse.
froze the video at that point because what happens after that is hard for even law enforcement to watch. That man proceeds to pummel the 67-year-old woman over and over and over again. As you mentioned, more than 125 times. He kicks her, he spits on her before leaving her there on the ground.
Well, it's hard for law enforcement to watch, but I guess it's not too hard for your political representatives to watch in New York, right? Because the policies that have led to this? Or did you forget about those? Did you forget about catch and release? Did you forget about no cash bail? Did you forget about that? So let's go through some stats really quickly.
Yeah, de Blasio should have to watch this like a Clockwork Orange with his eyelids just ripped open because it is his fault.
Yeah, he should be gorilla glued to a kaleidoscope of just these crimes so that he realizes the kinds of... You don't get a mulligan on defund the police. You don't get a mulligan on being soft on crime, leftists. This is the direct result of that. And statistically... That's the anecdotal that you just saw, and it should upset you. You should have a visceral reaction. You absolutely should. But you can't only go by anecdotal because that's how people are misled. That's how people are led down the primrose path. So New York City alone, anti-Asian crime has increased by 361%. Or it did just in 2021. Now, in 2018, there were some studies conducted. And keep in mind, these are hard to find because the DOJ stopped actually reporting the race of the perpetrator in a lot of these crimes. I can't remember if it was the DOJ or the FBI, but we used to be able to have these statistics, and then they just all of a sudden stopped. So this is done by third party here. 1 in 4 crimes against Asians were committed by a black perpetrator, more than any other race. Keep in mind that it's disproportional when you understand that they make up 12% of the population.
Yes, and I believe the word is teens.
Yes.
Yes, because that's honestly what they would use in New York. There's like 8 wanted teens, and you're like, in their 40s?
Yes.
Okay.
Teens descending from Yonkers.
Right, weird.
So this is, again, we can get into how does this happen? In the Bay Area, I think it was over 80% of all violent crimes were actually blacks against Asians. Now, this isn't to say, of course, that all black people commit crimes against Asians. However, if you want to defund the police, police your own. There need to be organizations. There need to be protests specifically from the black community saying, hey, let's stop this violence. Let's stop this hate. If you're going to try and paint it as white supremacy, which is what they tried to do, this White House, guess what? You don't get to the root cause of the problem.
Yeah, I haven't seen any news reports saying that there's a problem like what we've just described, where black men or black teens, as you put it, Dave, are attacking Asians. And look, I don't.
Men actually.
I don't.
Would be the appropriate.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Well, they're just acting like teenagers, even though they're supposed to be grown men at this time. I don't care what race is doing it, but you told us it was white supremacists. You told us it was a white person problem, and that Donald Trump in the White House has led to more Asian hate than ever because of the Wuhan virus, as he said it, right? The virus that came from Wuhan, right? That's what you told us, and this is what we have. Show me the video of this happening en masse from white guys, and I am on your side.
And you know what else
I'm
this
out there
does?
doing
This gives ammo to our enemy propaganda. So, for example, in Russia, they talk about, they want to vilify white people for everything. This is them trying to do an ethnic cleansing, right? This is the kind of rhetoric you hear from them. And if you go before these international governing bodies and say, Black Lives Matter, it makes it really easy for people who, as despicable as they may be, it makes it really easy for them to highlight the truth and go, look, they're not even acknowledging the problems in their own community. Look, they tell us to fix our community. They don't acknowledge the 360% increase in crime, and they blame on white people. Do you want this coming to your country? Fight the West. This is the problem with not being truthful. It's the only thing that matters when you are trying to troubleshoot a problem and fix it. Couple of quick stats. Bail reform coincided with a 40% increase in violent crime over the past year.
That's a shock. And they're going to let this guy right out.
Right.
That's the amazing part.
Yeah.
It's a revolving door. I mean, you don't. So what's bail? Oh, it's 0. Great. See ya.
Right. Well, the silver lining is he may be held longer because he wasn't wearing a mask.
Oh, that's
thank
true.
God.
Yeah. He might.
I just hope he was vaccine hesitant. Ooh, we could lock him up for 3 hours.
Yeah. Maybe 5 years.
Yeah, that almost would be appropriate, wouldn't it?
You'd assume 20, but yeah.
Yeah. And also, let's not forget that the New York may issue laws, which basically mean that you can't carry a firearm in New York. You have to have it signed off by effectively a sheriff. It's one of those things that's an impossible process, which should not exist, or that barrier should not exist because it is your fundamental right. Hey, why is it your fundamental right to carry a firearm? Because of that. You can teach that woman martial arts all she wants. Guess what? She doesn't have a chance.
Yeah.
If you want to save women, the only chance they have is a mechanical advantage. It's the great equalizer. That's why it's referred to as that. That woman is stronger than that man. Let's not act like the left cares about women, and so bad than not allowing all of its citizens to carry firearms. So what ends up happening? This video, I believe, just came out today in New York City. Lines around the block from Asian Americans buying pepper spray.
This is, again, a sign of how concerned the community is. It's all mainly women in line and elders and some elders. And because, pepper spray is not legal to buy here in New York as well. So, again, please stop Asian hate.
Yes, so the rapid rise in crime across the board with a significant increase against Asians in New York City. Cash bail reform, when you look at, bail reform, when you look at cash bail, when you look at the statistics regarding black against Asian crime, I think this may all just be a ploy. Back to their old tricks. It's big pepper spray, folks. This has been Empire State of Crime. Big pepper spray, always up to their old tricks.
They win every time.
If somebody had walked up and shot him in that commission of the crime, that would have been the appropriate outcome. And and I don't mean that as like I'm encouraging that. I'm encouraging you to protect the woman who got
I would. I
punched
encourage
and
it.
kicked 125
if a woman is,
or so times.
How about this? Okay,
67-year-old woman. You can't get weaker than that.
Yeah, how can you? At what point is it considered? Am I encouraging violence because she had brain bleeding, by the way. And the report says she was mostly fine, but some facial fractures and brain bleeding.
The orbital was shattered.
Yeah,
mostly fine minus the 130 punches.
Right. Yeah.
What an ass.
Well, but here's
125. We don't want to exaggerate. I would only encourage violence.
125, right?
After, look,
how many?
First 10, 20 strikes. Maybe that 67-year-old Asian lady had it coming. Okay.
Well, who knows what she said?
40, 50. I think maybe you have a problem. 60, 70, we're getting into what I call the potentially red zone. We're to code orange. 70, 80, look, you're walking on thin ice, but by 110 strikes, I think it's okay to encourage the guy being shot. Is that fair?
Is it? No, I think right after. One of the reasons nobody stepped in, I would imagine, is they saw that's a big guy. Like, he wasn't some small dude going after
Right.
Suge Knight is alive and
So they're
well.
probably like, oh, I don't have a firearm. I can't fight off this big guy. What am I going to do? Just call the
Yeah.
cops.
The elevator door
you know what else?
opens and it's just some guy like, all right, just going to hit close on
Yeah.
this.
The closed door, which never
Going
works.
Yeah.
back up to third.
Hitting it really hard.
That would be a terrible thing, though, to see.
Also, if it's
first
a
thing in
white
the
guy
morning.
walking by, he doesn't want to take the chance of getting involved and being accused of a hate crime.
Oh, of course.
Well, it's racist if you save someone who's a minority.
Well, they're not the most appreciated minority. I mean, we can't let them into Stanford and Harvard. There are too many of them.
Yeah, they're just good at being them.
Yeah, they're just good at being, people.
Why do they hate? I don't understand. They're good people.
Yeah, well,
I like the food.
I like the food.
Yeah.
They can take a punch.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Look, if there are any if there are any 67-year-old single males, it's hard to find a lady who can take a punch these days. So,
Yep.
Jeez.
prospect. Just saying.
As soon as one's face heals, probably never, because she's 67, there's one available.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to make light of it at all.
Can we bury this guy under the jail? Like, this is.
They're not
where
going to do anything to him. That's the problem with New York. This is why I hated living there. There's violence constantly.
Yeah.
And it's a complete result of defund the police, like you said.
Yeah.
And then the bail thing was just, that was the day they were like, oh, we can just go to Macy's and take whatever we want.
Yeah.
Like it
They're like, well, no. It is frowned upon. It's not illegal, but I'm sure the guilt you feel is far worse than any punishment we could administer.
There was
Look me in the eyes. Look me in the eyes.
I was outside eating, and it was one of the 3 places that survived.
Yeah.
And I was outside eating, and there's just this homeless guy, and he's just touching himself, if you will, like right in the street. And everybody's calling for the police, and the cop rode up on a horse and goes, "Oh, you don't like this? Well, maybe you shouldn't defund us." And then, and then rode away.
it. Yeah.
And I was just crying laughing.
The guy's like, hey, yeah.
It's like, I can't do anything because of you.
Yeah.
Enjoy your dinner and a show. Yeah.
Hopefully you have one of the drinks with the tiny umbrella.
But it was, I couldn't agree with them more. I was like, this is what we've been saying.
And it's
is
just
so
like what we
funny.
were talking about. This is the silver lining. By the way, the silver lining, you had 8 years of Barack Obama and former Vice President Joe Biden. You had 4 years, I don't really count the last year, under Donald Trump. And now you're going to have another 4 years of former Vice President Joe Biden. The contrast is important. You can't say, well, it's just New York City, because New York City was so safe, it was almost Disney World. So you had violent crime New York, right? You had it violent and crime-ridden. And we said, okay, what's going on here? Far-left politicians for a long time. Then you had the Giuliani years where it was cleaned up. It became like Disney World for... Regardless of your opinions, statistically, it's undeniable, and now we've gone to policies where there's obviously a stark contrast. It would be one thing if it was always a violent crap hole like Detroit, but they've always had far-left mayors since 1961. New York tried both ways.
Yeah. And turns out Giuliani was Batman.
And by the way, speaking of that, it brings us to an important story. Kyle Rittenhouse, who's been here on the program, sorry to bring you, be the bearer of bad news, but his firearm, the AR-15, was destroyed, I believe, yesterday, sometime this week. Here you go. We have footage.
Do you recognize that weapon to be the weapon you examined in the Kyle Rittenhouse case?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so pursuant to an agreement between both parties and approved by the court, the Rittenhouse rifle will be destroyed at the State Crime Laboratory on the
Don't
25th
do
of
that.
February 2022 by mechanical
Auction it
shredding.
off.
They're rifleless criminals in need.
What is that thing doing? Shredding it?
I believe it's a wood.
There are rifleless children in Ukraine.
Yeah, could have been put to good use.
Now, we of course respect this was actually Kyle Rittenhouse's decision.
Yes, he
to
said
have
it on the show.
He said it on our show. Decision to have it destroyed, and of course, I disagree with it. But that's his choice. It's his choice to make, and it is my choice to at least decide to honor the life of this rifle. Which brings us to this week's time to close.
We were going up and we had stopped at a store that was local. Kyle had also wanted a gun similar to the one I had. He said he would pay for it, so it kind of went on from there.
Time to close, endings and beginnings, ending and beginning now.
That looks like my bicep being vaporized, yes.
I mean, you have no idea what Mr. Rosenbaum was ever thinking at any point in his life. So your interpretation of what he was trying to do or what he was intending to do or anything along those lines is complete guesswork, isn't it?
Well, he said, "Fuck you," and then he reached for the weapon.
Time to close, it's time to go to places where...
It resembled the types of weapons that are used in first-person shooter video games. This big, long AR-15.
Very noteworthy.
Bruh, I'm just trying to be famous.
Do you recognize that weapon to be the weapon you examined in the Kyle Rittenhouse case?
Yes, I do.
Things to close.
Comment below your favorite memory of Kyle Rittenhouse's rifle.
Is that your friend in the wood chipper there?
Yeah. They Fargoed that thing.
They did. They Fargoed it up.
I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible
I was
either.
like, what are they doing? Chipping it?
Yeah, for crying out loud. I mean, just the first firearm I ever purchased was from a police auction.
I think they should use it to put with chips on playgrounds because that should remind sex offenders.
Yes,
Stay
exactly.
away.
They should have a Kyle Rittenhouse scarecrow at every local daycare.
And they sent pieces of it around the country as a warning.
As a warning. Hey, by the way, louderwithcrowder.com/tour. Dave and I are going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, May 14th, and we added a show in Colorado Springs on June 18th. So the first one sold out pretty quickly, and we added a second show. So people, Colorado Springs, Denver area, get your ass on down. And Dave is going to be in the, I guess Hartford, Connecticut, the Funny Bone this Friday through Saturday?
Yeah, just Friday and Saturday. Yep, this
Friday,
weekend.
Saturday.
Come out to Hartford or Manchester, I guess it's technically in.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, the Manchester Hartford Funny Bone.
That's actually good because I don't know if you know this. Hartford, Connecticut. You don't spend much time on the Eastern Seaboard.
I don't, thank
But you
God.
hear Hartford, Connecticut. What do you think?
Connecticut?
Yeah, you think probably nice.
Rich,
Yeah, I
white.
think very,
Horrible.
very nice, yeah.
Hartford is a rough area.
Hartford is
really?
a rough
It's
spot.
the one part of Connecticut that didn't make it?
I know.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
That's why they don't talk like this.
They don't talk like this. They talk, what's happening? You ever been mugged, bitch?
Oh, well.
Oh, boy. Dear, get my glove. I can't smoke my meerschaum without my glove.
I had my fencing sword, but he still managed to punch me 125 times.
Which I believe was 124 too many.
Well, Dave, be careful.
I will.
Yeah.
I grew up in, like he said, Detroit. It's fine. You know where to go.
Yeah.
You know where not to go.
So now we move on to a story here, and I want to go through all of this so you guys understand how this affects you, the macro, because look, Russia, Ukraine, regardless of where you line up on what the United States should do, if they should be involved at all, I don't think so. I certainly don't want to see us go to war. I think it's completely reasonable. I think, as a matter of fact, I'd think less of you if you weren't empathetic to the people whose lives are being lost in Ukraine. Of course your heart breaks. That being said, it's one corrupt crap hole fighting another more aggressive corrupt crap hole. That's my opinion on it. But that's irrelevant to this discussion. Okay. I'm trying to think of the best way. Let's start off with this. You may know that Jen Psaki met with influencers, TikTokers, to give them talking points regarding the Russia-Ukraine narrative. And this is not the first time they've done it. And there's, of course, some subtext there that they decided to meet with TikTokers on a platform run by the Communist Chinese Party. So they feel safe. In other words, they feel safe. The White House feels safe enough in handing out the talking points to people, these influencers, that they may offend Russia, but not those in power in China. So that should tell you what kind of a risk they're willing to take here and who they're in bed with. Now, here is, for those who don't believe me, again, all references available at louderwithcrowder.com. Here are a few clips of these TikTokers repeating the points given to them, admittedly, from the White House.
So I just got off of a Zoom call with the White House about the situation in Ukraine. A number of other content creators on social media and myself were invited to this event, which was on background, meaning that we couldn't record or take pictures, but we can discuss what we learned from it.
Second, Russian troops are not happy with their own invasion,
Dwight?
and it's really impacting Russia's ability to make progress in this war. Third, Russia is not going to win in Ukraine.
He's a star, folks.
I had the opportunity to ask the White House why gas down the street is $7, and here's what they said.
I'm glad to
The
see they
obvious reason
place
we're
emphasis
getting
on
out of a
authoritative
two-year
sources.
pandemic, when
Yes.
use goes up, the price goes up.
Let's get an
But the
ass
call is
model to talk
predominantly
about this.
Ukraine and Russia, so how does that relate? Russia is one of the top 3 producers of oil, and it is actually their #1 revenue source. Now, with Putin starting this horrific fight between Ukraine and Russia, nobody wants to work with him and do international trade.
So these are the people that the White House chose to meet with. Now, again, what's really important is we'll get to The View and what happens with legacy media, but this just shows you how low their standard is. Remember, they've always said it's about authoritative sources. Yours truly has been suspended from YouTube for quoting the CDC.
My bad.
They've said, well, hold on, you can't take anything from Louder with Crowder because it's not an authoritative source. No, but all the references that we provide every single day are. We don't even provide conservative references. It's either from a neutral source, if it's a scientific paper or a journal, or from a left-leaning source. We just use Washington Post or Huffington Post or New York Times, just so you know that we're not the only ones saying it. So let's throw that out. The left doesn't care, and certainly this White House doesn't actually care about authoritative sources or accurate information. Do you know how I know? Hey, what do you want to ask me? Do you know how I know?
How do you know?
Because here are some of the other videos from these TikTokers.
Did white Americans make clothes from the skins of black people? Welcome to episode 9 of Hidden History, which is how people face in the covered parts of American history. On March 17th, 1888, article
we can
in the
tell
Mercury
him
newspaper
yes, right?
describes a doctor wearing shoes made from the skin of Negroes. It says that the doctor had no sentiment about the matter and that he felt he shouldn't be described as acting to racial prejudice because he wasn't from the South and he had fought to free black people in the Civil War.
Wow, a hot girl who's terrible at dancing.
Yeah, I know.
That's who you chose?
Can I take this opportunity to, this is a public service announcement, no more mom jeans. It's not flattering to anybody. I get that you think they're ironic. You look stupid.
SNL did the best. Like, it was like
With
20
Tina
years
Fey,
ago.
yeah.
It was so funny.
But now it's in style.
Yeah, where Chris Parnell is just like looking at his wife, disgusted. Yeah, they're not funny. They're not ironic. They're not. Just stop.
Yeah, that's a very, very attractive girl who can't even dance. Look, if you're very, very attractive and you just want to cut your detractors off at the pass, get good at something. Just learn how to do one dance well.
Yeah.
She can't even do that.
You could.
But the White House has her on speed dial.
Like, this is the person we want communicating to everybody. Look, I get people.
I suggest being a mime. I didn't mean
well.
to interrupt you, but I just would appreciate it because she would not talk, and it's a skill.
Yes.
It is a skill. We had a mime in the other day. It is a skill.
Yeah. Would have preferred her to be in here.
Well,
the
it would
other
have
day,
been better. We probably would have had better guesses. At
Yes.
this thing. But you're telling me the guy that's this is the next episode. We just talked to the White House, and then the guy that's like 4 on my list.
Right.
Really, these are the people that we're trusting for our news.
Yeah, the star of Asperger's
Are you
Nightly,
serious?
who's
Yeah.
just like, and number 5.
And number 3, Battlestar Galactica. Now,
Number 6.
Goodness.
My virginity. Still intact.
Still intact.
the closet door opens. You just see someone fall through with a ball gag. Stop! I have to cut.
Oh, no.
So here's the thing.
Rubs
This
lotion on it.
is funny because these are TikTokers, right? Okay, and it's easy target practice. I understand. Figuratively. Now, this is not anything new. A lot of you may not know this, but I sort of sat under the tutelage of Andrew Breitbart. There was something called Journalist, which existed under the Obama administration, and that's where a private Google group of left-wing journalists, they basically were in touch with the administration directly, and they were, of course, shaping stories. And these were journalists. So in other words, you have TikTokers. These were journalists, and this was actually originally leaked by Slate reporter. I think it was Mickey Mouse. Mickey Krause. Mickey Krause? I don't know. I don't remember his name. The reference is available. You guys have it there from Daily Caller.
Kauschenstein.
I can't get out of my head Mickey Mouse. I know it wasn't Mickey Mouse.
Are you sure?
But it sounded like Mickey. It was Mickey something. The point is, it was Slate. Slate was like, I think this is a little too much. Slate!
Yeah.
The place. Well, anyway. Not as bad as Salon. Or as pedophiles call it, the place where everybody knows your name. Now, the group, journalists, they were conspiring actually on how to attack John McCain's campaign after he chose Sarah Palin as VP. So this is also an important note. When they say it's Donald Trump because he's these extremists, has there ever been anyone in politics more milquetoast and inoffensive than John McCain? They were conspiring to smear and attack John McCain. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're offensive. It doesn't matter if you're a Donald Trump. They did it with George W. Bush. They did it with Ronald Reagan. And they did it with John McCain's campaign. Again, all the references are available. So there was a campaign advisor to this, a Barack Obama campaign advisor, who was a member. There was also Ezra Klein. He was a founder. There was Matt Iglesias. Jeffrey Toobin was on Journalist.
Oh, the old Fapperoo.
The old Fapperoo. The old Lieutenant Fapper.
Yes, Jeffrey Me Toobin.
Hey, that would be great. He's on the show with it should be Tapper and Fapper.
Oh, that'd be a good idea.
Show. Be like, an angle like the old Crossfire.
No.
Only it's just two guys servicing themselves on a Zoom call.
It's still Crossfire.
Yes, it's still Crossfire.
Toobin's only allowed from the neck up now.
Just Jake Tapper comes in and opens an umbrella.
It just takes a while to get to the point.
So, Chris Hayes was on it too. Chris Hayes was on this list, journalist, and there was a member actually.
Where Stelter just comes in without the umbrella.
Right.
It just comes in with a bib.
So there was a member, Spencer Ackerman, of the Washington Independent, which is great. It's ironic. And he shielded Obama from criticism. This was actually, here's a quote from the Christian Science Monitor. Ackerman urged his colleagues to deflect attention from Obama's relationship with Wright by changing the subject. Pick one of Obama's conservative critics, Mr. Ackerman wrote, Fred Barnes, Karl Rove, who cares, and what? Call them racists.
Wow.
This is what they said back then, just like now they're trying to say Putin apologists. Anyone who disagrees with this exact narrative is a Putin apologist. You can think Putin is an ass, you can think Putin is a power-hungry oligarch, and you could still think that the United States shouldn't be sending $14 billion abroad when we still have starving veterans here.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, science denier, Putin apologist, climate
Right.
denier. I mean, all these things just keep getting thrown at us.
Right.
And this is. Let me give you some other examples. This happened under the Barack Obama administration, and I just say that because at this point we have it now with Psaki, but this is not new. So this is back when former vice president was still former vice president. Obama's spokesman Josh.
Josh.
Was it Josh?
Yeah,
Was it Josh Ernst?
Ernst.
Josh Ernst bragged in an email about ejecting Fox reporters. It said, here's a quote actually from Judicial Watch. I think Psaki gave you the rundown, but the bottom line is we've demonstrated our willingness and ability to exclude Fox News from significant interviews. But yesterday we didn't. They were lamenting that. Then in 2009, I don't know if you know this, Jen Psaki, she must be sucking the souls from a lot of podlings because she's still around. She was around in 2009 as a director of White House communications, and in leaked emails, this is Jen Psaki. These are her words. Its words. I'm putting some dead fish in the Fox cubby, just 'cause.
Wow.
Then she said, correspondent Brett Baer is a lunatic. Now, keep in mind, Brett Baer is pretty damn moderate. He's a moderate conservative.
Oh, yeah.
And this is not the only example.
Dead fish in the Fox cubby.
Yeah.
Who did she have sex with there?
Right. Well, I have probably a lot.
Isn't that what that means?
I think so. I don't know.
Oh, I could be. Maybe I took that wrong.
And people will say, oh, well, they didn't bar them from coming to the press conferences or bar them from being able to be in the White House to cover the press. Oh, you don't have to bar them. All you have to do is never call on them.
Right.
All you have to do is never care what they say.
All you have to do is not put them in the demented old circus monkeys cue cards.
That's 100% true.
That's true.
So here's actually another example. This is more recent. Remember White House, Jen Psaki. So we have the TikTok, we have journalists, we have examples of the Obama administration excluding voices of dissent, which is the same thing they accused Donald Trump of doing. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but the only actions that President Trump took against social media, and he didn't do enough. I'm mad because he didn't do enough. He had a shot, he blew it. He wanted them to allow all voices. He was not looking for them to eliminate voices. Again, look at the pattern here. There is a consistent pattern always of eliminating voices of dissent, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, and the White House supporting it. Here's actually the White House and Psaki encouraging social media companies to flag posts as misinformation.
Well, last July, you probably know, but the Surgeon General also took the unprecedented step to issue an advisory on the risk of misinformation in public health, which is a very significant step. And amid that, he talked about the role social media platforms have. So our hope is that all major tech platforms and all major news sources, for that matter, be responsible and be vigilant to ensure the American people have access to accurate information on something as significant
they should go to TikTok.
as COVID-19. That certainly includes
Who determines
Spotify.
accurate?
So this
TikTokers.
disclaimer, it's a positive
Got
step,
great
but we
roots.
want every platform to continue doing more to call out mis and disinformation while also uplifting accurate information.
Oh, those are nice words. Do more to call out while uplifting. Yeah, you got us suspended from YouTube for quoting the CDC.
Correct.
They're inaccurate, according to that suspension.
Well, and who
I would think.
Who got more crap on social media than Trump? Is there anybody in the existence of mankind that's ever gotten that?
You mean a
much?
sitting president removed while the Ayatollah Khomeini's still there?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, how much more damage can you possibly do?
Yeah. Well, they're not even afraid of it at this point.
But
So-
he's willing to still take it, though. He's like, I just want it to be free, so you can keep shooting your arrows at me, but I still want it out there. They want the slightest things to be censored.
YouTube removes interviews with Donald Trump.
Right.
Think about that. Not only do they want to remove statues, and this is, remember where they were saying, okay, we want to remove Confederate statues, and people said, okay, I kind of understand. Then Donald Trump said, what's going to be next? Abraham Lincoln? And because he said it, people said, oh, he's being silly, Abraham Lincoln. Well then, okay, Abraham Lincoln statues, right? People want to remove them. And now, you want to talk about, look, this is just like Germany for a period of time banning the teaching of history of what happened under Nazi Germany. I'm not saying that the left is equivalent to Nazis. What I'm saying is the approach of banning portions of history that you don't like, namely a presidency that you didn't like, of trying to remove now any interviews with the former that was a president who, up until the freest and most fair election of all time, had more votes than anybody in the history of the country.
Right. Yeah.
Are they banning interviews with George W. Bush? Are they banning interviews with Jimmy Carter? For crying out loud, they didn't even ban interviews with Robert Byrd, who wasn't president, but he would have been fourth in line if the right planes had gone down. And he was in the Klan. He was a top right. He was basically COO of the Klan.
Well, and just think about it this way: if you don't give the person a chance, any kind of platform to get the word out and say, "Look, I've been misquoted," play the tape to the end. This is not what I said. This is not what I meant. Here is what I meant. They've taken that away from Donald Trump completely on those platforms.
That's exactly the point. And then they want to tell you what it should be. So in other words, let's just not call on Fox News. Let's just not call on people who are critical. Would love to see how many conservatives have been in on those influencer meetings. I don't know if you know this. This is the #1 conservative channel that's ever existed on the biggest video platform that's ever existed. Never been called on once. Never been in any of those meetings. So I don't know who they're having there, if they're bringing in anyone from the right, but it's certainly not anybody here. And then tell people what the truth is. So make sure the media doesn't show the part where Donald Trump said, I'm not talking about neo-Nazis or white supremacists who should be condemned totally. But outside of that, you had fine people on both sides who were disagreeing. They get rid of that, and then they tell you Donald Trump praised white supremacists.
Right.
It's the soft censorship and then the hard pushing of a narrative and making it the only permissible one. And this is the irony in that they are saying this is necessary because of the crimes against humanity that Russia commits, namely in silencing voices of dissent and journalists. So here's another example. This just took place yesterday, I believe. The View, 5 hot flashes at a table, called for Tucker Carlson and Tulsi Gabbard to, I don't want to take it out of context.
Circle.
I don't want to take it out of context, but it sounds a lot like they're supporting, and by sounds a lot, I mean they are supporting the arrest and punishment of speech from Tucker Carlson, Tulsi Gabbard, and of course you, if it's something they don't like.
And I think DOJ, in the same way that it is setting up a task force to investigate oligarchs, should look into people who are Russian propagandists and shilling for Putin.
They used to arrest people for doing stuff like this. If they thought you were colluding with a Russian agent, if they thought you were putting out information or taking information and handing over to Russia, they used to actually investigate stuff like this. And I guess now, there seems to be no bars.
No bars. You mean rebar? Like they have to reinforce your bed frame with you? There are no bars. Good to see you're supporting McCarthyism there, Whoopi.
Yeah, that's great. Are there any bars? No.
Nope.
They're all in your chest.
Just read the hoodie, child. There are no bars. I don't know why they're not arresting them. How about they arrest you for your wardrobe choice?
Oh, I gotta buy big clothes. It's for a man who's huge.
I get a tarp, and then I put a hoodie on it. This is a poncho, then I put a logo on.
Yeah.
Saves money and time. When it's like Steve Jobs with a black turtleneck. Only with me, it's big and fat hoodies, child. Then you have Anna Navarro sitting there. She's just there to give them credit, right? Again, they've never, ever had people like this program on, but Anna Navarro sits there and says, I'm a Republican. I used to be Cuban, and I'm a Republican, so you can trust what I say. Arrest all the Republicans.
Yeah, it is unreal. My hoodie was supposed to say hope, but then it got all stretched out and ruined by me.
I put my head through a normal shirt. It's like stretching it out with a cantaloupe, child.
Yeah, it's a huge child. I haven't washed my hair in 5 years. That's dandruff, child.
And look at the word that she used, by the way. She said
Cake?
shilling.
I'll have some.
No. Shilling for Putin. Right? Yeah. You're out there shilling for Putin. We're not talking about this person right now, but we just mentioned him. Donald Trump gave an interview where he was describing that Putin is a very smart, evil person.
He said, don't underestimate him, which is exactly what Sonny Hostin said. So that's a perfect example. You eliminate Donald Trump from the pool, where, again, you can go watch his speech, and you can go watch, I don't remember if it was in an interview and then he reiterated it at CPAC, but he said, he's not stupid. I'm just saying, what I'm saying is he's not stupid. He was saying don't underestimate him. Then they told you that Donald Trump supported.
He was out there shilling.
He was out there shilling.
That's what they said.
That's the new term that they use. You Putin? I guess at this point. But you were calling everybody racist, right? Back then it was just call them racist. We just showed you the emails. Just call them racist. And now today it's just call, if they don't want to go to war, if they don't want to spend, it'll probably rack up to tens of billions of dollars over the long term here with this conflict. If they don't want to spend tens of billions of dollars, just call them Putin apologists. So they eliminate Donald Trump from that pool. They say he apologized. He was a Putin apologist. He was supporting Putin. Then Sonny Hostin says the exact same thing on The View, and no one has a problem with it. Why? Because she has a seat at the table where she can provide the context, which they don't allow to political dissidents. And by the way, they mentioned specifically Tulsi Gabbard and Tucker Carlson. Russian propagandists, if they're Russian plants, as though they're actually working for Russia. Look, they may not follow the exact party line of Whoopi and Republican Navarro, but let me show you where they've clarified their stance on Russia. I don't know if they're huge fans of Putin, but you be the judge.
Here are the undeniable facts. There are 25 to 30 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. According to the U.S. government, These biolabs are conducting research on dangerous pathogens. Ukraine is in an active war zone with widespread bombing, artillery, and shelling, and these facilities, even in the best of circumstances, could easily be compromised and release these deadly pathogens.
Biden official in charge of Ukraine confirmed
What's
the
the
story.
bad news?
Victoria Nuland, the Undersecretary of State, casually mentioned in a Senate hearing on Tuesday that actually, yes, the Biden administration does fund a series of biolabs in Ukraine, and whatever is in these labs is so dangerous that she is deeply concerned these materials will fall into the hands of the Russian military.
Doesn't seem like they're thrilled about either the biolabs, which of course people would say is a conspiracy, or getting into the hands of the Russian military, which again would imply they're not big fans of the Russian military. You can also find more clips than you can watch in a lifetime of Tucker Carlson saying that he's not a fan of Putin. Just because he doesn't say that everything Putin does is wrong doesn't mean that he's a supporter of him.
Right. Well, and she's like, when you're shelling buildings, biolabs tend to have problems because they tend to get out of biolabs without shelling.
Right.
And also when power goes out,
There's a bat
they
present.
tend to have issues as well.
Yes.
Do we understand how this works?
Well, thank God the nuclear plant being bombed and on fire that the Ukraine released. It turns out that wasn't a thing.
Not a thing. Oh, and I'm just checking my notes here. I just want to say there's not a wet market near any of these Ukrainian biolabs.
No,
So
there are.
We're good, guys. Hey, we get this fine. Everything's fine.
But there is an Aldi's.
Oh no.
Well,
Now-
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get prices that low?
Well, I don't know. I assume
Right?
they just get the produce right when it's about to spoil. Their produce doesn't hold up very well. Now, here's the thing. What they're doing right now, where they're saying you need to arrest, or we used to arrest, that's McCarthyism. And by the way, McCarthy wasn't wrong about everything, but Whoopi and I we wouldn't be able to have a conversation about it. But the point is, she's just blank slate supporting McCarthyism. It's very similar when you look at what the White House is doing. And it's a scaled back version, but certainly of what the members of the Hot Flash 5 want us to do. When you look at Russia, who are arresting protesters for holding blank signs.
Well, that's lazy.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Again, I'm not a fan of the way Russia handles critics or the media. That's the old Russian joke, right? The problem is so obvious, there's no need to write it down.
I love that. That's hilarious.
Yes.
Like, it's so bad, and people know that it is so bad. You hold up a blank sign and just the insert here. It's
a mob
whatever you want. You know what's going on.
This is blank sign, yes, but we understand with After Effects you could key in something, you could put penis on there with Putin. We can't take chance.
No penis on the sign.
Well, Sharpie pulled out of Russia too, and also Crayola, and so they're just like, well, what do we do?
What Crayola? What will we do with our military when we give them scissors? They need Crayola safety scissors. They're always drunk.
They will stab each other good.
Yes. Sometimes they eat lots of paste and take nap.
Safety scissors, very important.
Very important. It's standard issue. It is standard issue to our soldiers, like the French army is with individual white flag.
Well, in solidarity, I would just like to.
Anything you want. Boy, this is going to backfire on you.
Yes. Meme that. Send it to me at S. Crowder on Twitter.
Come on.
And you know what? Not only that, if you are below, if you're on YouTube, comment below what you would like to see memed.
Come on.
Gerald's white card. Please, all entries are welcome.
No, they're not.
All entries.
I didn't think that through.
Yeah, you have no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah.
Listen, Dave, it's the price of freedom. I will stand in solidarity with them and hold up.
I think you're going to find out it's a hefty price.
That's I think you're going to wish you didn't.
There's no rollback on this price.
Nope. That is not an Aldi price.
No, it is not, my friend. That's a Whole Foods. No
that was
discount.
a blank card for all of you.
75
There's video
Gucci.
evidence. It's a blank card.
It's no wholesale. You are paying full retail.
Hefty price.
To give you an idea, by the way, for context, about 14,000 Russian protesters have been arrested since the beginning of the war. And this is an example right here of there was a broadcaster, a producer, who busted in to the room during a news show in Russia. And again, hats off to these people for trying to make their voice heard and doing so understanding that there is a serious risk.
Yeah.
Российский премьер подчеркнул, надо усилить сотрудничество в рамках союзного государства, а на совещании в правительстве обсуждали, как сохранить доступность лекарств.
And by the way, her whereabouts were but then they found her.
Just now, breaking news, probably within the last hour, she has reappeared in a Moscow court because she's got to go to court to defend the. Well, it's not quite as bad as holding up a blank card, but
that's going to be like the Dark Knight court with what's his name, that actor who played Scarecrow. Like, your choice is Gulag or Gulag.
I would pick Gulag.
That's right.
I bet Whoopi is so jealous.
Yes. To beat Russia, we must become Russia.
Yes.
At least Whoopi becomes Russia. That's what it is. I feel like Ivan Drago today, child.
Oh, I do it, child.
If he dies, child.
It's the price you pay.
Hey, Gerald.
Yeah.
I will break you, child.
Really?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Over there, and this is...
Am I a chair? Is that how you're going to break me?
Oh, I just had the worst visual.
Yeah. Over there, by the way, it doesn't matter which side of the conflict you're on.
No.
This is the thing, too. This is just what the United States here is pushing. Take Whoopi, take what they're talking about at The View, take what Psaki is talking about, and accelerate it, and you end up with Russia. Scale it back just a little. Let's go in reverse. Russia, okay. Scale it back. Australia, scale it back. Canada, scale it back. Mandates, lockdowns, right? There's a march. People always say there's a march towards totalitarianism. There's a march towards socialism, but I repeat myself. There's a slow march, and you are definitely on that march when you ban a sitting president. So over there, they've gone around the bend where it doesn't even matter which side of the conflict you're on. Here's a clip of, and I shouldn't laugh, but I laughed really hard when I watched this. It's almost as though it's almost timed like it's a sketch, so forgive me. Regardless of what side of the conflict you're on, you'll be arrested.
Спросить, как вы думаете, если здесь просто сказать два слова, меня за это сейчас арестуют или нет?
Вас уже задерживают.
Perfect timing. Снимаете только оппозиционеров, да?
Всех снимаем.
Всех снимаете? Ну, а вот у кого есть другое мнение, вы тоже их снимаете?
Конечно, всех снимаем.
Ну, а те, кто, например, не выходит на митинги, и кто считает, что военная операция, которую развернула наша страна, вы таких снимаете?
Да, мы все мнения показываем.
Ну вот я тоже хочу высказать тогда свое мнение.
Скажите.
Меня устраивает то, что...
This is a Monty Python sketch.
Yeah, just keep talking.
How are these, not all Russian women, but how are those Russian women so dumb?
They're looking at all the cops just staring at them.
Like
waiting? They're like, where are all these cops? No, ignore them. Tell me what your opinion is. Are you sure? Because usually if we talk, we disappear. No. That's just an old wives' tale. Tell me your opinion. Okay, but if I talk, it's like Red Rover. The cops are just boom, running right in.
I just love just goading her into saying it and then arresting her.
Feel comfortable.
No, you're fine. Whatever. We asked you.
Your secret is safe with me.
It's fine. Just tell me.
And 19 KGB.
Yes. These guys, don't worry about them. They are invisible to you.
Yes. Just ignore a neck tattoo of Grim Reaper holding baby.
Yes. It's just nice.
Awesome. It's just Hannah.
Terrible.
They had a party at the office. So you were saying?
So stupid.
And then she's basically supportive of it, and they arrest her anyway.
Well, they didn't know.
They were just like, can't risk, woman talking.
We should turn that into like an Impractical Jokers thing.
Yeah,
like
Impractical Jokers in Russia.
Yeah, just every time they say anything, they're just getting dragged away, the women. Were you in here for what? Hidden camera show, yes.
Yes, that's right.
I said the wrong thing.
I was told to ask a hot dog vendor for too much mustard. Apparently, that is joke with Impractical Jokers. People find it hilarious. It's really not even just wasting mustard.
I didn't eat the hot dog, and they beat the shit out of me.
Yes.
They just saw the video in court. Is this you? Yes. Too stupid. Go
guilty.
Like a boinky sound effect.
Boink. Yeah. The judge's mallet is just one of those inflatables. I feel like it adds levity before I end your life.
That's an awfully serious sentence. Oh, well, okay.
That's not so
You're
bad.
right. You should
Also,
shoot
do
her.
you like my flower? Do you like, hey, yes, don't get closer. Look, it's a lilac. Psst, it's water. I like to have a laugh. Hank. So
We also have an update on the woman who protested on the live broadcast, Marina Ovisnyankova.
Yeah. We don't need to try.
Right.
The one that I said appeared in a Moscow court.
Osinikova.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got it.
Joe got it.
Ah!
Yeah, Gerald already got
trying to update the update.
Yeah.
Of the updater.
Admonish Tokunawan.
Admonish
Tokunawan.
Admonish.
It's like he's in this room and he wasn't paying attention.
Admonish all three. There we go.
Hey, Tokunawan, did you notice that Whoopi Goldberg was wearing a hoodie? Maybe you want to fill us in on that.
What if he says nope?
Yeah.
Nope, didn't see.
Well played.
Then you don't know how to do it.
So, look, this is the point that I'm making here. This administration, and of course the administration before where former Vice President Biden was vice president, before he was former vice president, they have no qualms about trying to manipulate the media. They have no qualms about trying to set a narrative, and they have no qualms about eliminating voices of dissent. And now they want to eliminate voices of dissent in discussing the conflict between a country, well, between two countries. And by the way, one of the primary sins of that country, Russia, is eliminating voices of dissent. Do you see the irony in this? These people are Putin apologists, so we need to make like a Putin and kill them. Again, scale it back. You think it's either, as freezing and be like a Donald Trump administration with the press. You know what the worst thing is that would happen with Donald Trump if he didn't? He'd go, no, excuse me, fake news. And they would say, look, he's just like Mussolini.
Right, yeah.
Just use your own term back against you.
Yeah, you say, turn around, look at those guys. Those are all fake news people right there that you can't trust. They're going to say things about you that aren't true. And turns out they said things about us that aren't true.
This is a genuine question. And I know that if you're watching right now or listening, that you may be left of center. A lot of people who watch this are. Can you objectively look at this right now? Look at the scenario. Look at the 3-4 years under. In this case, include all 4 years of Donald Trump. And look at the media coverage. Look at ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News to a large degree outside of maybe 2 shows. And look at the criticism. Look at what he had to put up with. And I'm not saying that all of the criticism wasn't valid. And I'm certainly not saying that these media outlets shouldn't be allowed to do it. For crying out loud, I want Stelter to be tenured. And compare it to right now. Can you honestly say that in the Trump years, the media was muzzled, the media was silenced? Whereas right now, when you see what's happening, yours truly, this show removed for not only quoting the CDC, I think the other one we were suspended because we supported the police officer who shot Mekhi Bryant, who, by the way, was just I don't know if he was found not guilty or all charges were dropped. I don't know the exact legal nomenclature here.
Yeah.
But, of course, he was found to be in the right, shooting a girl who was stabbing another girl, where he said, put down the knife. We were suspended for praising that police officer because it was considered reveling in the death of someone who was about to commit murder against someone else. Suspended for that. You see Psaki saying, hey, you know what, we want them to crack down more on misinformation regarding COVID-19, and now the same thing. Hey, we want you to go out there and push this message on Russia, Ukraine. Let's give you the talking points. Can you honestly look at the treatment of the Donald Trump administration versus the treatment of this administration, and by proxy, of course, the Obama administration, and not see a difference? And can you see how it's dangerous? Here's why it's dangerous, why it's far more dangerous when you have a Democrat in the White House, when you have a Democrat, or you have Democrat-controlled, let's say, Senate or House. The reason it's more dangerous is because you already have far left controlled everything else. Hollywood, the entire entertainment industry, media, education, all of it. That's not really the case. In other words, when there's a Republican in there, when there's a conservative in there, guess what? They're still fighting upstream with everything else. When there's a Democrat in there, it is lockstep across the board where everyone is in agreement. And now the most powerful companies that have ever existed in the history of mankind, just take 5. You've got Amazon, you've got Apple, you've got Alphabet, YouTube, you've got Alphabet meaning YouTube and Google, you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, you can toss Microsoft in there. And these are the people who, by the way, based on the White House's guidelines, it's easy to look at the TikTokers, but based on the White House guidelines, they're willing to ban apps from their platform, let alone videos from YouTube, let alone pages from Facebook, let alone shadow banning tweets. They all act in unison. At the very least, can we all acknowledge that there's a different dynamic of checks and balances when there's at least one lone conservative voice, even if it's just in the White House, which is not nearly as powerful as a swamp in the media/entertainment industrial complex? I mean, you want to know what happens? Look right now. Trudeau is talking on CNN. I want to hear what this guy is saying, and let's see if he's parroting the lines that Psaki was giving the TikTokers, or if maybe he's a voice of reason. Let's see what he has to say.
Ukrainians are standing up to authoritarianism. And as parliamentarians,
You are
united in this
authoritarian,
House today,
Rick.
and
You jailed
all
pastors.
Canadians,
Right.
We stand with you. As friends, you can count on our unwavering and steadfast support.
Two-spirited support.
And now, it is my great privilege
That must
to
come
introduce to you
That
all
must come as sweet music to
President
the
of Ukraine.
Ukrainians' ears.
Yeah.
Like,
Our
oh, thank God the Canadians are here to save us. We were waiting for man in tugboat with shotgun.
Oh, can we go there to be arrested?
Yes, please send over your piston planes with your handguns.
So they've got Zelensky on. He addressed the British Parliament within the last week. I can't remember
The
what
true
day
story of Robin Williams, Man of the Year?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's crazy. I like this dude. Sorry if you guys don't, but I find him interesting.
I find him interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I guess it's a strong word, but I find him interesting.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Ladies
sorry,
and gentlemen.
there's a virus getting out.
Yes.
Tons and tons.
I must close 18
Mr.
tabs.
Speaker, Prime Minister, dear Justin, members of the government, members of the Parliament, all distinguished guests, friends. Before I begin, I would like you to understand my feelings and feelings of all Ukrainians, as far as it is possible. Our feelings over the last 20 days.
That table has
20
an echo.
days of a full-scale aggression of Russian Federation after 8 years of fightings in Donbass region. Can you only imagine?
No,
Imagine
Canadians
that on
can't.
the
Canadians
on
cannot.
4
Legally.
a.m. each of you start hearing bomb explosions, severe explosion. Justin, can you imagine hearing your children hear all these
Prime Minister
severe
Blackface, yes,
explosions? Bombing of airport, bombing of Ottawa airport, tens of other cities of your
Well, keep in
wonderful
mind,
country. Can you imagine
keep in
that?
mind that Prime Minister Trudeau, and this is actually an important example. I don't necessarily. You guys let me know if something interesting takes place there. It's basically parroting the same lines. They did compare the Freedom Convoy truckers to Nazis.
Yeah.
They treated them as criminals and arrested them. And by the way, again, you don't need to just go, okay, Russia. You don't need to just compare Russia to the United States. There are shades in between that. Okay, go back from Russia. You have Australia. You have quarantine camps. You have people being arrested for simply walking outside when they're not within curfew. Let's go to Canada. Let's just bring that back a little bit. The CBC just had to admit to misrepresenting and reporting inaccurate information about the Freedom Convoy, those truckers in Canada. Keep in mind, they were protesters. Some of them were trampled by horses. The Canadian government enacted emergency powers that allowed them to freeze their bank accounts. Is that getting close to totalitarianism? Think about that for a second. By the way, the CBC who misreported the information on the Freedom Convoy, a lot of Americans, you may not know this. I grew up with this. The CBC stands for the Canadian Broadcasting the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I believe it's the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Someone can bring that up. I know it's Canadian Broadcasting. I don't know what the last C stands for. And it receives hundreds of millions of dollars in government funding. When Trudeau ran for office, keep in mind, Prime Minister Trudeau, who was, to be Prime Minister Trudeau at that point, he promised it was either 100 million or 150 million more in grants from the government per year to CBC. Tell me that's not going to taint the coverage of the election. It's like a kid running for class president promising free ice cream in the cafeteria. Just promise the CBC, basically the only broadcast network there that has a monopoly on news, and they misreported. They just had to admit it. Because of independent journalism, which exists online but doesn't exist on television there, they had to admit it because they got called on it. And they're funded by the government. So you scale it back. You have Russia, you have Australia, you have Canada. And let me ask you this. Do you really think for a second that Kamala Harris, that Nancy Pelosi, that Jen Psaki, that Joe Biden wouldn't be like the rest of Europe, wouldn't be like Australia, wouldn't be like Canada if they could? Do you really think that Whoopi Goldberg and Ana Navarro, the token Republican, on the Hot Flash 5 View, do you really think for a second that they would stand up for your rights to speak out against the narrative that they're setting? You really think it's that hard to imagine? So this is something that all I'm asking is for everyone out there to keep your eyes open. And by the way, I also ask you to smash that like button if you're watching here on YouTube, because that helps with the algorithm. And YouTube, keep in mind, the reason YouTube removed the dislike button was entirely because of Donald Trump's farewell speech and the likes versus Joe Biden's acceptance speech. And no likes. Yeah.
Yeah, none whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I thought you were about to say something. I thought you raised your hand.
No, I didn't.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you having visuals again?
I am. Yeah. I was staring into the lights for too long. By the way,
I moved my leg. Maybe that's what it was.
Oh, that's what it was. I thought you did this.
I was trying to do the Charleston in my mom jeans.
You trying to do the Charleston?
Yeah, I want to get invited to the White House.
Well, you are a big Glenn Miller fan. So this brings us to something else. And by the way, you can be banned on YouTube for this next story that I'm about to present to you. That's why we just asked that you go to louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub or watch on Rumble, because we're going to continue on this story.
Sorry.
Careful.
I'm not laughing at, laughing at her.
You're not allowed to make fun of someone for their immutable characteristics, which immutable means, innate characteristics you're born with.
Yeah.
And in this case, it can be someone who was born a man and then put on a dress and a sideshow bob wig, or a twisted sister toupee, and that is now off limits. So
Rachel Kinnison?
Yeah. Beautiful and brave Rachel Levine.
Different Rachel.
First, by the way, keep in mind, it used to be sex and gender were different. Remember, former Vice President Joe Biden said first female admiral.
What?
First female admiral. So now, we've tied the two together, which I kind of warned you would happen. It was just a grammatical term, and it was just a way to use wordplay against you to remove you of your basic, fundamental, actual birthrights, the right to speak freely and the rights to say, if you're born a biological man, I still think you're a man. You could be removed on YouTube for saying this. Do you still feel free? So Rachel Levine, the first female admiral, is among USA Today's Women of the Year.
Oh, she's the candidate,
Oh.
huh? Wow.
Who's that lady? Sexy lady.
Who's that lady?
Beautiful lady.
I would just love, I wonder if, Tom Jones sang it at his concert, and then Rachel Levine walks up. She's a lady. Whoa, whoa, whoa. She's a lady. Talking about that freaking lady.
And I guess
Next
her
song.
balls are fine.
Yeah.
Who's that lady?
I guess it's maybe.
Oh,
that lovely maybe.
That lady is mine.
Do you think he plays Aerosmith's song?
Once, twice, 3 times a maybe.
3 times a healing after surgery.
Yeah. I need transitional healing.
Not even going to say what I was going to say. It's just going to get us banned again.
Lady in red, your wound is opening.
So USA Today's Women of the Year.
Too far.
Other honorees include
cheek.
Kamala Harris.
And
That doesn't so much.
No, it matters. Why would you nominate Kamala Harris? What did she do? She got selected as being the worst presidential candidate in the primaries possible in the voting, but she got selected to be that. And then Simone Biles, I think her claim to fame this year, Simone Biles, an amazing athlete. Her claim to fame, not this year, within the last, I guess, couple of years, was actually backing out of the Olympics essentially and having kind of a breakdown.
Yeah.
That's she would have been Woman of the Year when she won and when she was doing those things, and that's 100% fine.
Well, they couldn't. That slot was filled with Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
They can't all be Women of the Year, Gerald.
I think Simone Biles is awesome. I'm just saying, what are we rewarding there?
Well, the good thing is she was rewarded with a lucrative contract with Subway.
That's
on those
fresh.
commercials now.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like sometimes to be fresh, you got to refresh. Are you admitting that you've run your company into the ground with Listeria?
How do you get that where you sit somebody down and go, listen,
yeah,
our old sponsor is the guy, spokesperson, if you will.
Yeah.
Anyway, can you not... Can you do this without touching kids? Let's get a woman. How about that
let's
this
do
time?
something. Yes.
Just something. I don't know.
Oh, the old sponsor. Yeah, Jared. I know he used to come to our gymnastics lessons.
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, then we turned 18.
Yeah. And we just never saw him again. Never saw him or the pants. He would always hold out, look, these are my pants. We were like, we don't care.
We should probably not tie our brand to gymnasts either. There's too much sexual
a lot going. Yeah,
issues there.
It's that Michigan State doctor is the new Subway sponsor.
Yeah. Altar Boys. Let's go there.
Played by John Lovitz.
Yeah.
Subway, eat fresh. So this isn't the first female award that Levine has received. I don't know who could forget. Gerald, do you remember when, of course, not the first female 4-star
Right.
admiral.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
first one in history, right?
When the war was over, there were jobs galore for the hunky sailors who were in the war. For some admirals, things were not so grand, and the Navy could not understand. What do you do with an admiral when he stops being an admiral? Oh, what do you do with an admiral reassigned? Who's got a job for a former man when he starts being a lady? And they all get a job, but a tranny man no one hired. They fill his tits with medals for fighting wars abroad, and spread the crimson carpet for fighting as abroad. The next day someone hollers when she comes into view. Here comes the Admiral, and they all say, Admiral who? They're delighted that he came, but they can't recall these names. His staff started maligning him after gender reassigning him. It seems this country never has enjoyed so many 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 trans admirals unemployed.